Hello everybody and welcome to episode 112 of the Hunger for Hustle podcast. So excited today because, as you can see, this is the first ever live in-person show that we've done. They've always been through screens in often very different parts of the world, which is where my beautiful guest next to me, we did our first episode from. You were in England and I was in Australia, and some of them have been audio, so without that, but here we are.
Amazing. It's very exciting.
It is very exciting. With Jen Maynard, which, as well as being a friend of mine from school, was the first ever guest on the podcast on September 9th, 2020. And here we are. It'll be next week. It'll be 18 months to the day since then. And yeah, I couldn't think of a better person to have on as a first live in-person guest.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. While I seem to be doing a whirlwind tour of the UK.
Yeah.
And we're in Somerset at your place today in the beautiful. I drove down from Derby where it was raining all the way down, and it was 3.5 hours of driving. It rained all the way. I got into Somerset and it stopped. So
Made
that was
for you.
brilliant.
Made for you, Jake.
But I know you listened to our last episode earlier. I had technical issues, so I couldn't. Naughty me. But I kind of remember where we left off, and it was a very interesting time in the world then, and has been since.
Yeah. Things
have changed for all of us in so many ways since then, and I know that things have really changed for you from where you're at then with the Boho Bride Guide, and you started off as a florist for weddings, didn't you?
Yeah. And
then it became, I know Matt, who is a good friend of mine, I've been keeping in touch with him for a while. He kind of had a bit of a boho wedding, would you say?
He very much did.
Very much did,
yeah. So that was last September, and I did the flowers for him as my bro. But yeah, so we, when was it? So yeah, started on the birth of my first son. I started park and peony flowers. And I specialised in boho floral design and wedding venue transformations. From then, I then got pregnant with my second son, and really quickly realised how much I loved the community side of being a wedding supplier, and that's where I launched the Boho Bride Guide podcast. And I showcased sort of many wedding suppliers that I came into contact with, and they shared their expertise, and we showcased how amazing they were via the podcast. Then lockdown hit, and I found myself at home with two kiddies under 2, and started up a Facebook group to support initially the suppliers that I knew, but then that community quickly grew, and I shared my sort of training and learning and development skills from on the Facebook group. So to utilize that time while we were in lockdown to focus our brains on something positive and what we could action, and that was develop our business. Focusing down on our niche, looking at growing our network, all of that through a Facebook group. And that then, I think when we last caught up, I was about to launch the Boho Bride Guide directory and blog.
Yes.
So
it was literally launching that weekend.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So yes, it's and since that, really, it's from my point of view, it's been about focusing down on serving who I serve, which is wedding suppliers within their first 3 years of business that want to focus down into the boho weddings arena. And from growing that community, which has up to now has been quite sort of an intimate community, I've realised that I've got a real passion for creating community and creating a space where people can learn and develop their businesses, and hence why we've now got Wedding Business Growth Coach and we've got the Boho Bride Guide.
It's really interesting and serendipitous, because that's almost what you mentioned there about creating community in a space where people can learn. That's almost why the Hunger for Hustle podcast exists.
There you go.
And why I started creating it. But One question I wanted to ask you within that, and it came to me while you were speaking, Boho, obviously short for Bohemian, but for perhaps people who are watching, listening later, maybe you should explain what a Boho wedding is.
Okay.
Because people are like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what people are going to be.
Definitely. So from my point of view, our customer, if you like, are engaged people that are looking to create an outdoorsy, eco-conscious wedding that has very much got like that boho festival vibe going on.
A lot of people call them festival weddings, don't they?
Yeah, it's very much
like people stay in the tents on site.
There you go.
Sometimes the venues have them set up.
Yeah.
I've never actually been to one, but I would love to. So if you're planning one, please invite me. Yeah, but I think, you know, some of the venues, and you said there was a bit about venue transformation there.
Yeah.
You know, perhaps people want people to stay on site. Actually, no, forgive me. I have been to one in Australia where I stayed in a little teepee on site.
There you go.
It's become very popular, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Become very popular.
I think it's just about people being able to create a wedding day where there's not that traditional formality. It's very much about getting loved ones together, having a damn good time, aligning with your ethos around walking lighter on our earth, all whilst, making memories and sharing the love you have for your partner. Yeah, you know, that's exactly right. That's what it's all about.
And I think it's and look, I could be wrong within this, but perhaps is it a slightly less costly way of doing it as opposed to a more conventional wedding, you know, and there's nothing wrong with this. Some people use different routes, like different things, but with the bells and the church and perhaps, you know, the huge afterwards venue with 100 people. I'm not saying you don't still have big numbers at boho weddings, but I feel like there would be a bit more of a smaller, more intimate affair.
It very much can be. It can be as small as an elopement. It can be just the couple that are choosing to declare their love for each other on their own and have a celebrant and go to their favourite part of the forest or a cliff top, all the way through to bells and whistles.
That's a secret wedding, though, isn't it?
It can very much be.
Secret. We ran away and got married in secret.
Yeah, and I think in lockdown, it's given people almost the choice to actually, to choose rather than get pressured into having a wedding that you think you should have. I think it's really opened the doors to really creating a day or even an hour if you want that real intimate, just sharing your vows to one another. It can be as simple as that, all the way through to your weekend wedding where all your loved ones stay with you for the whole weekend and you're all glamping kind of thing.
Yeah, which is I think how I would do it, because you find all the weddings I've been to, of course, like the really beautiful and often quite emotional part is the ceremony. There's always a few tears. I'm always a tearjerker. Joker? What's one of those? A tearjerker at moments like that. I'm just like, they flow, and it's happy tears. It's good. But I think there's wanting to, for me anyway, there's this wanting to still have those people around you and kind of share, the next day and maybe even the day after that. And I know actually some cultures, they have, I know the Indian cultures, they have huge weddings that go on for days, don't they? And everyone's there.
And who wouldn't want that, to be honest?
Who would want that if you can?
Exactly.
Why not? Of course, some people want the more intimate affair and possibly even have their own reasons for a secret wedding.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that wraps it up. That kind of explains what the boho,
so that's sort of like the boho wedding, and then from a service point of view, what I offer is the online directory. So you get a position on our directory, which is a catalogue of boho inspired suppliers. So if you're looking to create that kind of wedding, the directory is that go-to place where they can build their dream wedding team that can make that happen for them. But then I think what my sort of USP is not only am I that directory, I really, from being a wedding supplier, I really find value in, again, that community element. And so when people subscribe onto the directory, they're actually subscribing into a community of approved suppliers that have the same values as them, like they've got the same target wedding audience, and actually they can collaborate together, they can build their own network, gain work from each other, do wedding shoots with each other, and we've had what we call a support pod over the last year that has just, has supported me as a business owner as much as they have gained massive value out of it as well. So
you're giving value to them and they're giving it back. And also, of course, because you have this directory, you're supporting small independent businesses, which is something I'm really, really passionate about and really big on, and have become even more so recently, of like becoming more aware, as you know, as a mompreneur that you call yourself, or an entrepreneur that I call myself. I wonder if you'll change like dadpreneur.
Why not?
One day,
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, do.
I bet there's a hashtag.
I was just going to say we should probably be careful of touching this table, because I don't know how sensitive.
Stay away.
No elbows on the table. But the struggle is real. The juggle is real as well. We'll get to that in a set. I love that. The struggle is real, and when you're building things often by yourself without any people around you at the start, because you have to do everything yourself, you have to wear all the hats, you are doing all the bookkeeping, you are doing all the admin, you are doing all the customer services, the product sourcing, the marketing. It's really never ending, depending on what you're doing. You know that struggle is real, and to have, even if they are friends or you don't know them all, I'll actively seek out, if there's something I want to buy, I'll try and find someone that's independent, rather than just going to a big chain. And I feel like those guys have probably got enough money anyway, the big chains, the big stores. And it feels better for me in my soul to support independent. And you're doing that through providing the directory.
I like to think so, for sure.
And we're in Somerset, for anyone who doesn't know, that's in the south west of England.
Correct.
Got it. And you operate just within that area, or is it?
So the directory, we do the whole of the UK, Ireland, and now parts of Europe too. We've got some suppliers, Italy and Spain. So there isn't any barriers, I suppose. No. As I said, we're a new venture, so we're very much, again, want to work as that community to grow my business as well as their community at the same time.
And that's the beauty of the wonderful thing that we're using at the moment, called the internet, right?
I know.
Because it just enables you.
It
enables you so much. And do you think, if I'm very aware from the narrative you've laid down to us and everyone watching, listening later, that obviously things evolve for you and change, and do you think that you would have found that path anyway, or do you think that, I'm not going to use the C word, and it's not that C word, it's the other one, but if you think all that stuff hadn't happened, would you have still gone down that path? Or it's kind of hard to say, I suppose. But
I think for me, a big change was having my first child. Right. That really, I've been in the corporate world for 15 plus years. Always in that sort of learning and development arena. And, as you do, you sort of climb the ladder thinking that's the right path for you. But then as soon as I had my first child, it gave me that headspace to be off from work for a year, maternity, and actually reevaluate where my life was going. And I quickly realized that what I was doing was not fulfilling me. And, I'd got up the ladder to a certain point where I was not working directly with people and making that direct impact anymore. I was very much on a more strategic level.
Because you were in corporate then at that time, when you had your first child, right?
So I was up until December. This December just gone. So that's where the sort of floristry came about. It was just to dip into my creative passions at long last. I'd been pushing them down to the bottom of the pile, because that's not how you pay the business. So learning and development type of a lot of training and that sort of stuff, but it was more assurance and oversight of things rather than that.
Awfully boring.
And it's just not where my
it's not where your heart was at.
It's not where my talent is. I constantly had that imposter syndrome. And never felt like I was in the right job. Always felt like, they're going to figure me out in a minute and sack me kind of thing. And it was basically because I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing.
You weren't fulfilled?
Very much so.
Which is the exact same reason I jumped out of plumbing full time, for someone else at least anyway. I still, there's an element of creativity to plumbing, particularly if you're creating spaces for people, transformations, bathrooms, wet rooms, etc. Putting your own flair on that. But it just started to grind me doing it for someone else, and realizing that, and this is a bit of another edge to it, that they're, you know, I'm taking 20%, they're taking 80%, and I'm like, well, why couldn't you do this to yourself? Of course you can. It's just finding the will, desire, and route that you want to take to do it. Something you touched on there though was imposter syndrome, and I mean, what does that look like? What does it feel like to you?
Not feeling. So I was very capable at my job, but I would constantly get really worked up before certain meetings, if it was with certain level of person, and but that was happening on a daily basis. I was constantly having that sort of tummy churning feeling, and yet my capability was there, but my head wasn't there. That belief, and I knew for a long time that I needed to get out, but I wasn't quite sure how I could make it work, kind of thing. And actually, the turning point was just doing it, just making that start, and buying that name, buying that domain, and going for it. It's
always an exciting part of the journey, isn't it? But I think, you know, it takes something to be said, and I commend you for it. It takes a lot of courage to do that, and to step into doing your own thing, and particularly when, you know, things aren't promised. And one thing we've learned from the past 2 years that nothing is promised, and everything can change very quickly in an instant. If it wasn't already apparent to us, it's become more apparent, of course. But I think a lot of people can, as you alluded to, they get stuck in the world of a corporate because you're like, look, I'm getting paid just enough to get by, and I'm doing just enough that they're not firing me. Yet, you know, or some people are getting paid very handsomely, you know, and they're quite comfortable. But I don't think, it was actually funny because I was just speaking to my cousin yesterday and we were having a discussion about a similar thing, that it doesn't take long for you to be either not feeling like your value could be spent somewhere else, or you're not valued in your role before it starts to peter out to other parts of your life. And you just end up very quietly, but quite deeply unhappy, I think.
And I think a big thing for me is I quickly realized that the vision of the type of mom I wanted to be, actually, if I stayed doing what I was doing corporate and that lifestyle that I was leading, it wouldn't enable me to be that present mom and to have that flexibility to do a 9 to 3 or go to the sports days and go without massive sort of pressure from work side of things. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want to demonize corporate, because you know, my team was amazing. It was nothing personal. It was just the comparison between being your own boss and working for someone is that autonomy. And I can, in the next 3 years, my plan is to build a business that is flexible for me to travel the world with my children, to be present with my children, to teach them other cultures that just widens their map of the world, kind of thing.
Absolutely, I know from traveling and living in different places, it really grows you. And I think the earlier that you can get kids into that, it's only going to grow them and the world and what they, you know, see as their capabilities as well, I think. Different cultures really grows you. I think, you know, you talked about imposter syndrome there, and it's something you'd struggle with for quite a long time. We had a brief cover off of that before we went live, that you felt like maybe that when you became a mom and you're like, I'm getting this right, this is working, these children are still here, you know, they're alive. That, you know, that probably really great for your confidence, great for your self-esteem, and really bolstered that. And you know, maybe that imposter syndrome disappeared a little bit, and it
puts
could have been
into perspective as well. I think
perspective is a beautiful thing.
My what's the word? I've always got my value from others pre-kids. And I've always, you know, if someone wasn't saying, well done, Jen, you've done an amazing job there, which you never get in corporate.
You should do.
You should, but you rarely get that regular.
Everyone's too busy, right?
And that's what fills me up. I love to hear how I'm helping others. And when you don't hear that, your bucket empties quite quickly. And so coming out of that environment, showing that you're doing a good job as a mom, for one, that's a massive tick. And actually, what I'm working for now is bigger than myself. You know, it's my family. It's what I want to achieve for all of us, not just me and Kev, kind of thing.
And I think that's, you know, maybe under the surface there, that kind of you're like, well, I've got this right, so maybe I can go with this business thing and get that right as well, you know,
It's true.
and it grows out from there. But
Yeah.
something that you touched on there is like becoming part of something, whether it be a project, motherhood, you know, a podcast, a book, just something that's bigger than you and is bigger than your magnitude on this earth, and that is going to be here, you know, when you're gone one day, because we all have an expiry date, right? It's what's the legacy, and creating. I think that's a really, for me, and I can see it is for you, it's a really important thing, and it's a special thing as well.
Yeah.
I think it's not to, and I don't want to either demonize corporate. I think some people are very suited to that way of life, and we need those people to keep the world ticking and spinning almost. But it's not for people like me and you, and it takes you a while to find. It took me at least 28, 29 years before I was like, this just isn't. It's not.
This ain't doing it for me.
No, it's not doing it for me anymore. It's.
I've got a stat. We are at work on average 90,000 hours, and
of your whole life.
Of your life. And so
that's a staggering statistic, isn't it?
And so when you think of it in that context, why are we wasting hours of our lives in something that doesn't fulfill us?
Very true. Because that leads to massive disappointment, frustration, upset, and all the other things in that bag of negativity you want to avoid. And it's not to say, I don't think it's, you could still spend 90,000 hours at work, but in your own business, you might even spend more because
I'm sure you do, actually.
Yeah, quite possibly, because you love it. Right, and when you, I mean, a lot of people say when you love it so much, it doesn't feel like work. I don't really, I don't know, maybe if you're an athlete or something, but I know, it's always felt like work to me.
Okay.
And I think
when I'm doing the community side of things, that doesn't feel like work.
Right.
The tech side feels like work. That's a slog for me. But it's where, I suppose it's where community for me actually fills my bucket up, as if I'm chatting to my friends. Like, that's the connection that I feel like I've got. However, the other sides of the business does feel like work.
so it's kind of, it's the same for me in the community aspect, because my values are like helping others, making a difference. But the tech side for me, because I'm a geek at heart, I'm like, I thrive on that. I'm like, and a problem solver. I'm like, how does this work, and why isn't it working doing what I want to do? I know I can figure it out.
I'll give you a ring then.
No, you're more than welcome to. But I think, and that's just brought something else into my head, that, you know, the real, the kind of 2, 3 maybe most important things in life that you give and you don't get back, and you can't really get any more of, our time, energy, and capacity. It's something I've been thinking about and kind of working on more lately.
Okay.
And I think that, you know, I'm not a parent yet, and I do look forward to being one day, but obviously that changes your whole sphere of influence and the amount of things you've got going on within your day. And how do you manage your time, energy, and capacity within that?
Yeah, with you.
I think, you know, and the reason I ask you that is because, well, I think there'll be a lot of ladies watching that, you know, have gone into doing their own business. You know, I don't think you're alone in this journey, in having some quiet time, whether it's been maternity or the C word, I'm not going to say, and having that quiet time to think, where am I going, and like, who's going with me, and what is my direction in life? I'm actually not happy here, and I've had a bit of time away from doing this regular job, whatever it might be. You know, there's something else within me here. I think a lot of people have taken that journey in this time. It's a beautiful thing. I see it playing out a lot. The internet helps with it, facilitates it. So yeah, I think it's just the answer to this question could add some real value to. I mean, and even the guys watching as well, you know.
I mean, I suppose so. I've shared this quite a bit with wedding supplies, and my I suppose there's a few things. So one is very much organization, prepping everything and planning my day the night before. That's a biggie. I've got a whiteboard upstairs that I have my system is that is have a shower, and then I'm on my whiteboard. I plan out my day, chunk out literally every half an hour what I'm doing, because at the end of the day, I have between 9 a.m. and 3:30 to get what I need to do. I do work on the evenings. Sometimes that works with my shed my timeline, but I equally sometimes just want to veg out and either go to bed or watch TV with my hubby kind of thing. Because that's equal. That's as equally important to connect with family. So very much time chunking is a biggie for me.
Systems.
Getting those systems in. I talk a lot within the Wedding Business Growth Coach activities around putting in anything that can be automated, get it automated. I'm still a new business, so I'm still working on systems all the time, and continually learning what works, what doesn't work. And then the other biggie for me as a mom of 2 under 4,
Let's think about that.
Yeah, how old are they? Is outsourcing what I can outsource.
Yeah.
It's always a balance because we're a new business. Is balancing, money going out, money coming in, that kind of thing. But the return on investment is massive. So I've currently outsourced things like my Pinterest management, my blog scheduling, my social media management, and that is literally my godsend. Jess, Matt's wife, she does Pinterest management and blog.
Matt's Jen's brother, by the way. Jess literally takes that burden from me because it's a constant wheel, and as wedding suppliers, if you are able to and business owners full stop, if we're able to outsource anything, and you can physically see that return on investment in say 6 months, if you've got those targets in mind, and if you need that Pinterest management to get your website traffic increased, but you haven't got the capacity, buy in that capacity. And never sitting on your laurels, sort of focus on where I want to go, and actually make decisions and act on them, and that's sit with me sort of happily, and just keep moving forward. Might not always be the right decision, it might be a mistake, but actually what can you learn from that mistake? Move on. Don't dwell, keep moving. And actually, from when we last spoke 18 months ago, I've now got a coaching business that I'm soon going to be launching a program, and we've just done our second intake on the directory. If you'd have said that to me 18 months ago, I'd have been like, I'm never going to be out of corporate. I'd just like 30 suppliers on my directory, and it's just through that consistency, consistent behaviour and systems. Consistency and keeping at it. If you said to me when we did the first episode, in 18 months you're going to be 112 episodes, I'd have believed that, because I knew I was wanting to do 100. Said that. But I wouldn't. I'd thousands. This will carry on for the rest of my life, I reckon. I don't see the reason why not to stop it, as long as it keeps adding value to people. Then that's great for me. But I wouldn't have expected the impact that it had when people come to me and say, I listened to your podcast to start my own business, or this or that, and it's just like it's about giving a bit back. It
really is. I think unreal.
How long was it before you're going back to outsourcing and getting people to take care of? You use the word burden, but we'll get back to that in a minute, because I think it can be when it gets to a certain point, because you need to work on the business, not within it. But how long was it before you started outsourcing things like your social media, whether that be Pinterest, Instagram management, things like bookkeeping as well? I've been outsourcing.
So it was a conscious decision. I think if I did a plan. I did a financial plan for the next 3 years, and in that plan, right from the get-go, as soon as I pressed go on the directory, because I'm a mom, because I've got limited capacity, that was always in the plan.
Okay, so you just right
I did it from the outside.
Okay, so you've never done your own. You've never
from
scheduled
the
your own
bride guide. Jess has always done that for me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I know that that is a lot of people don't even consider that. But it was, if I'm going to be able to be a mom and be a present mom and grow 2 businesses, that was a conscious decision.
It was a conscious decision, that meant that you, and it goes back to, I guess, being organised and like you use the word time blocks, right? Knowing that I've got that time free, because it does. There's not a business in the world now that isn't using social media.
And it's an amazing. I couldn't like we've said, I couldn't do what I do without social media. So it's
in
it's
some
in
form.
yes.
Some use it a lot more than others.
Of
Some use it
course.
very lightly and don't
Yeah.
need to use it. Some
Yeah.
businesses are word of mouth, but
yeah,
that's
me,
really interesting.
It's an essential tool,
Yeah.
and I love it from the community point of view. But I don't have that headspace to be able to do what Jess does for me.
Well, and also if you're not good with the technical end of things,
True,
it can become,
extra.
I guess, a burden.
Yeah.
But I think I already did it differently, but I suppose it aligns with what you've already alluded to. It's not that you're not great with the tech. Would it be fair to say that?
I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
But
it's
you're
not something
next
you
level.
enjoy.
No, I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, to me, it's just like it's intuitive and fairly natural. And I think that's probably because my parents always made sure I had a computer in the room until I was like 12 years old.
Okay.
So it was just always like, always had the latest gadgets and gizmos. Yeah, it was just what it was. And I started doing my own for Paddock Blade, my main thing.
Yeah.
I started doing my own content for the first, I would say, 2 years, perhaps getting on for 2.5 years before I was like, it gets to the point where your time could just be spent in different areas.
Yeah.
But you started it different from the start for different reasons.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I thought, I was like, I need to learn how to do this and how long it should take me. So then when I find someone else to do it, how do I know that they're doing it right, A, and B, kind of how much time it takes. Yeah. Maybe that's me being a little bit of a control.
No, that makes total sense. That makes total sense.
It's how I am, right?
Maybe it might have been different if Jess wasn't a family member.
Yeah.
Maybe that because she sort of grew her business.
And you're supporting each other.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can be honest and transparent and it's, you're kind of in that mesh of trust. Yeah. It means they're going to do a good job. And
we learnt together. I think that was she did a blog, then I edited it, and then and we found that level together, I suppose.
And there's so many different strategies for social media. It's not just set and forget. Yeah. Each business should approach it in a different way. Success leaves clues, and in that, you can do your research on the platforms before you actually put any content out. Take 10, 20 different businesses that are in your arena and go, how are they doing it? Yeah. What of their content is working and what's not? What are they doing that's different or off key? And then how does the message that I want to put out and the values of my business, how does that kind of mesh in with, the way I voice out in social media? Yeah. For example, I very quickly learned that, okay, I want to put my product out there, and of course I'd like people to buy it. It's kind of the reason you're in business. Number one is to make some profit, right? If you're not making profit, you're not doing too well. But I very quickly learned that it actually needed to be about 80-90% of funny and cute horse content, and really about 10 to 20% of product. Yeah. Okay. And that actually got a lot more notoriety on social media from doing it that way. Brilliant. Because if you love horses, you love laughing at them, and you love the cute ones. And even if you don't, you still love that stuff. I love that stuff, and I'm like, I don't even have a horse.
Wow, that's interesting.
And then you can kind of wrap different elements into that. People who, you have to know your target customer. I know mine. We call her Julie, and there's a certain set of attributes to Julie: her age, her type, the way she lives her life, and who she has in and around her life. But they're probably going to like cats as well, and dogs, and all that other kind of fun stuff. Yeah. Have you ever done like the ideal client, like thinking about who that is and what they look like and what their needs are?
You're totally right. Yeah. So very much so within, so in my coaching world, we actually look at the anchor fundamentals, which is all around, and it's like an acronym. And it looks, so anchor is attraction strategy. Then you go nurture your online relationships, closing the sale, and then it goes down. But the online piece is that three at the top. And in our attraction strategy is very much how we focus down in on who we serve, what area of the wedding industry do you want to carve out and become that go-to wedding supplier for. And it's also almost like a micro niche of what you need to get down to that minutiae detail around what do people want you for? What is your unique selling point, and how are you positioning yourself in the industry for people to come and find you? And that's actually through what I call a content creation system. We like a system, and it's about creating regular blogs, and then repurposing that content onto your social media, and actually almost creating a bit of a funnel back and increasing your level of traffic. But your level of website traffic is actually your ideal wedding client, because you put in the right content out in the first place.
And that's a huge, sorry to cut across you, but that's a huge time saver there about repurposing content. I'd love to know where you kind of learn that from, but we'll get to that. But, you know, creating one video that might be 3, 5, 30 seconds, 5 minutes long, probably not 5 minutes, that's a bit long. But, and then just slicing that up and using different bits of it for the different platforms. You know, you can take a 30-second video, put the entirety of it on maybe something like Facebook where it's a bit more longer tail, and then slice up less of it for TikTok, a bit of it for Instagram, and put, you know, and that saves a lot of time. You know, you don't need to be, and this is the thing that I did at the start, and I'll be honest, actually I'm still doing now, so it's probably needs to change. Being like, okay, this piece of content is just for that platform. It doesn't need to be.
And even from a podcast point of view, if you are able to get this transcribed, and then you can chunk this up into micro blogs. So, you know, take one piece of value that we've talked about today, and then put that in the caption, got an image of us chatting. That's another, and you could get a month's worth of content out of this podcast if, you know, chunking up the pieces of value and the pieces of advice, I suppose. Exactly right.
It's, you can save you a lot of time. But where did you get that idea from, or did it just something you learned along the way? I'm intrigued to ask, because I got that idea. I do watch a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk stuff. Gary V, do you watch?
Gary V is podcast. He's been on podcasts actually.
He's pretty much on it. He's everywhere. That's fair to say, right?
Neil Patel is a
Neil Patel. I use his SEO service. Fantastic. Best way, I would say, hot tip for you guys. Best way to keep an eye, the most kind of accurate way to keep an eye on your competitors and where they're performing and what kind of traffic they're getting next to you
and what they're using.
It's the only one I've ever found that's reliable and is reasonably priced as well.
Is that the SEMrush?
No, SEMrush is a different thing.
Is it?
I found that to not be too reliable. Sorry, SEMrush. But I found that to not be too reliable.
So if it's
Neil Patel, it's literally neilpatel.com. Sign up for that. You put your website in, and everyone else's. Well, you know, you've used it, right? But
I might be getting the SEMrush and Neil Patel.
They do a similar thing. But I found Neil Patel is so much more accurate.
Brilliant. And all of his blogs and content.
I'm trying to figure out.
You're in.
I'm good. That's good.
I think it's literally at aref.com. He does some amazing video all on YouTube. I can't remember what his actual name is, but his thing is aref.com. Around blogging and how to up your Google rankings with your blog content, and actually how to get your whole blog working together to lift it up and create masses of value. So he talks about like having a hub blog and then having topic clusters. It's something we've been covering on the Grow workshops that I deliver. Just making, creating valuable content, free valuable content that will get you ranking well in Google, then repurposing that onto social media and Pinterest, and saving yourself time, but still adding masses of value to your audience through one blog a month. I think blogs are massively underrated, and I don't think people think they're like old and they're antiquated. Partly because people really don't know how to, or no, they just don't have the patience to read them anymore. True, right? But it depends what your niche is, and I think the more niche you are, the more valuable your blogs can be. Both our main businesses are quite niche, you know, creating beautiful boho weddings for people, or helping them, assisting to do that, facilitating that, and selling people a machine that essentially picks up horse manure. It's pretty niche, right? It's very niche. And I think when you're in that space, again, when you're using, when you're using blogs to address that target customer, like we talked about earlier,
and you're making sure that these keywords are in there, it's really going to get you up there in the Google rankings.
Yeah.
And if you do have, even in niches, you still have competitors. And, we actually take it as a bit of a compliment now when people just jump up and start copying us.
Yeah, there you go.
You might be good, but you won't be the best.
Yeah,
So it's, but no, we used to drop more, but now 2 blogs a month because we made them a bit more longer tail.
Okay.
But because one thing about blogs is if someone types in, how can I increase the oral health and hygiene of my horse, like horse dentistry or whatever, horse's teeth. And there's like quite a long tail keyword, right? If you've got a blog that's titled with that or has those keywords around that blog, you're going to show up, and then they're driven to your site. They've obviously got horses because they're looking for your stuff. And hey presto, then they're like, I didn't know this product existed. And it's, and
it comes back to knowing your target audience.
You've driven the traffic to your site without being salesy or pushy about it. And what's it cost you? If you've written the blog yourself, just your own time.
Yeah.
If you've had someone else to do it for you, you can still get that done relatively cost effectively. So
very much
in a space where, and I don't know how many ads you run, but I do, spend a reasonable size chunk on ads. And they've just got more and more expensive, particularly over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
To the point where they've really, you're talking like 40-50% up.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So
because there's so many more people in the space.
Yeah,
and there's so many more people fighting for the eyes to look at their ads.
With you.
So you don't use ads?
No.
That's really interesting.
No. I've dabbled in it.
Yeah.
But it isn't something, and maybe it's because of the stage I'm at in business. I think in my mind, I'm very much in a growth stage, and so I want to have almost that personal connection with each supplier before they join me. So haven't dabbled there.
You might find that you never need to, and that could be fantastic.
It might be the case.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But no, it's not really in my plan for the next 3 years.
No,
actually,
that's good.
I haven't got to that point where I can then scale. It's more I'm growing my brand at present.
The thing about ads is they're fantastic, and it's about creating the content, not consuming it. For me, anyway, as someone who runs ads, but I think it's kind of like I'm reminded of those, you've been to like a sushi restaurant where it goes round and round. Yeah. It's like that with ads. Once you start spending money on ads, it's like, how do you get off?
Really?
Well, because it's the ROI is always decent, even with the expenditure as it's gone up.
Yeah.
Everything's gone up, particularly like in these past start of the year.
Okay.
Everything's going up, right? Just cost of everything's going up, and I don't really.
As in, like per click, per visit,
per sale, I would say.
Per sale,
Cost per acquisition or cost per sale has gone up, just because there's more people fighting for the eyes on the ads.
Okay.
But the ROI is still good, but you're like, well, if I cut the head off the snake here, how does it keep coming in? Yeah, you don't know. But I think it's about constantly. Every day's a school day, right? Every day's a school 100%. Day when you've got your own business.
And it might be the case that
and there's always new things.
In the future that might be. And at present, it's more almost not word of mouth, because online isn't, but it's like my initial community. If they then are engaging on my posts and that sort of thing, then who sees that? And it's more that organic growth at present. But you never know what happens in the future.
You don't, do you?
And maybe it's slightly different for a product-based business.
Of course, it is.
To a service-based. That there's going to be a different dynamic.
And as I was about to touch on, you will never get better than word of mouth, because it's free. Yeah. It's dare I say, a little bit egotistically, it's endearing. But that's in a good way, I suppose, because it's. It's like I've provided a good service or product here. Someone's passed the word on that to help someone else because they're looking for the same thing, and they referred them to me. And what does that cost you? Nothing, but just being a good, decent person and having a good, decent business. So I think that's particularly in the service-based. It makes me think of, I've been a plumber since I left school, and the way that you often always pick up your other jobs is just by word of mouth, and just by doing, the best job you can do. And just really, I think it's one thing that really people scan over all the time in the sea of particularly a lot of online-based businesses is customer service. Like, it's so important to be the difference.
Yeah.
And provide like impeccable customer service before, during, and after the purchase.
So true.
Because
so going back to my anchor, we've got human connection down the road a bit, which is around your customer journey on the lead up to a day. Then you've got over deliver and about planning in to how you surprise and delight on their wedding day and actually excel their expectations. But you've planned it. You're basically gifting either from a service point of view or a product point of view, and they're then your loyal fans, and they refer you and
that is key.
Provide testimonials.
Something that Napoleon Hill says. I don't know if you've ever read any of his stuff.
No,
Great. I Think and Grow Rich, one of the best-selling business books of all time.
Or maybe I've heard.
He was a man who took well over 20 years to analyse all the biggest and best business performers of the time.
Okay.
So then he says is something you should get used to doing is providing way more than your original offering and the value of what you're doing, because it's it's people speak about that.
Yeah.
I
think in today's world, it's not enough to be good and just deliver what you're expected to deliver.
No, you've got to be exceptional.
You really have. You really have. And it's how do you plan that into a system?
Well, going back to systems, I'm intrigued by this. I'm curious by this. I've been thinking about this as we've been talking. How many of the systems, and they are important, and in the corporate world, they're already supplied for you because they've already been formulated some time back. And the ones, new ones come in, old ones change. As everything changes and evolves, the things that don't work get changed and replaced with new ones. And some things are just circumstantial, they change. But were there any systems that you brought over to the corporate world and thought, actually, that quite works and I could apply that to my own stuff?
Not directly, but I suppose when I think about a system, it's not necessarily buying in a system like a corporate client would. It would be more around how you behave as a business owner. So it's your own system. So I touched upon, so every night I have after I've had a shower, I write up what I'm going to do the next day, and then out of that I then plan my half an hour's. Do
you think that's a system or a routine though?
It's a system until then it becomes a habit, and then I'll do it simultaneously. But to be honest, I've been doing that since December, since I left corporate. And it's still, for me, a system. I still physically have to think about it. I get uncomfortable if I haven't done it. So I'm getting to be becoming a habit gradually.
That's a long time from a habit.
I mean, that actually was inspired by The One Thing. There's a book called The One Thing.
I've read that book.
Steve, can't remember.
But it's a yellow book. Google it, you'll find it.
And that's what inspired that whole ethos, really. And it's so out of my time blocking, what is the one thing in that hour that I need to have achieved by the end of that hour? So I might have written on my board, sort out Instagram. I don't know, have a time block of an hour to do my Instagram post. But actually, the one thing out of that is I need to do X blog and I need to do X reel kind of thing. And just constantly reprioritizing my day. If my boy needs picking up from nursery because he's not well, I need to make sure that I've done that highest priority thing in the morning, because my afternoon is never guaranteed. And systems are little habits, I suppose, that we put in place. It's the monthly blog, time blocking time to do your monthly blog, then time blocking time to do your scheduling. So then the rest of your month is your own. Those sorts of systems. But then from a physical purchased system, it would be things like then your scheduling tools, and Canva is an essential thing in the wedding world, if you ask me, these days. It just enables you to create that quality visual content.
Just changed the whole game, Canva did.
Oh my gosh.
Just changed the whole game, didn't it? It went from like Photoshop and having to have the skill,
of course,
or even buying a load of pre-made templates and editing them through something that took a lot of time, to now Canva just like cracked it wide open. You can do it on your phone. The templates are there. And you can share all the work within a group in there, within the teams in there, and it's so cost effective.
It really is cheap for what you get out of it. And now they've sort of opened it out to reels, and you can create some. Yeah, you can. Yeah, of course. I'm still learning, and as we all are. But yeah, the whole reel aspect for me, because Instagram is so sort of priority within the wedding world, it's made that look really slick, and you can create some great stuff and utilize the algorithm to get you up on there.
Well, I think there's been a shift. I think there's been a shift in, and I'm just trying to think of what the timeline in that shift is. I'm going to say it's like maybe 6-8 months. Particularly, it's really moved forward with some speed as we've come into this year, that everything's become a lot more Instagram. And like everything is, oh, we good? You can't reach it. Low battery on the phone. Sorry. Funny enough, on Instagram. So that was right on cue.
Yeah, there we go.
And we're still good there as well. So we're good. Oh, I have a few questions here. Sorry.
Oh, we've been
that involved in it. Hola from Spain. Hi, Elisa. And
a celebrant, amazing,
wonderful, fantastic.
Lovely
nice to have you on
see
board.
you.
If you want to
Apologies, we can't see Instagram.
We can't. I can. Oh no, I can actually.
Might have to.
No, it's just Peter John. But if you've got any questions, guys, just drop them in the comments now, and we'll have a look at them towards the end. That'd be great.
Fab.
Where were we? Instagram, the shift going to it. I see that there's a lot more now. Not that Facebook's, just the demographic has changed. Because don't forget that Facebook's been getting on for 20 years now, really, of having that real kind of, is it 20 years? Oh, wait, that's 2007. Well, at least 10 getting on for 15, right? Yeah. So 2007 was when basically everyone was like, oh, you've got to get it. And I think that as that demographic naturally who uses it has become older, and younger people have just gravitated towards the new, more cooler thing. And as Instagram has widened its scope of what you can do in there, you know, and that all came along, like Reels came along, Live came along, all within a short space of time.
True. And
just the whole hashtag thing, like to the point where I will actually, if I want to buy something now, instead of Googling it, sometimes on Instagram it, because that's where I know I might well be able to find a small independent business that I can support. And then you can give, like, it's quite easy to give a little bit of love back through the same platform when you get your order or when they provide you with the service and tag them in, and then that synergistically gives them content to post, and it's like it's this kind of revolving door of giving and receiving, and it's great. You know, I think it works really well. But
it's an interesting one comparing Facebook and Instagram. And for me, from a wedding business point of view, an engagement point of view, now I don't know the stats, and I'm gonna have a look, but from a Facebook and an organic reach on per post, I found a considerable drop in the last sort of 6 months. So I put something on Facebook with tags, not hashtags, but as in other businesses, and it's real limited. People just don't get to see it, and I need personally to do a bit of investigation as to why that's the case. But whereas Instagram, maybe it is because you've also then got hashtags, you've also then got I don't know, maybe there's a better following, not quite sure, but
I just think more people use it because it's more current.
Okay, yeah.
Because
that's the go-to.
Well, it's because stories are just, it's there, it's now, it's what's happening right now. And it's so easy for people to, and let's be honest, that's the reason a lot of people are on platforms, to be nosy and see what other people are doing with their lives. And you can just do that so easily with stories. Yeah. You know, that's and you can become, you know, some people become, you know, use it too much. You know, and I think that's a really key thing, actually. One of my best friends, James, said that to me. You want to create the content, don't consume it. And you can get lost in consuming it to the point where you're wasting time. You know, and it actually becomes a bit of a negative connotation. At the same time, you can create and cultivate your social medias to be a great place of whatever you like, you know, whatever you love. It might be horses, it might be video games, it might be coffee, it might be positivity and inspiration. Yeah. You know, it takes some time to kind of cultivate it and for the algorithms to keep showing you that stuff. But going back to the Facebook thing that you mentioned, I'm just voicing this out loud, and this might be useful for anyone else that's watching that is the same. It does get to a point, I found, even more so when you've run some light ads, just because you can very quickly, easily do them through your phone without Ads Manager. they're like, okay, we want you to start spending money on ads now because we know like we're going to let you, and it's a bit of a
There's a ceiling.
bit sneaky. There's a ceiling. There's a ceiling.
Yeah.
It's a glass ceiling that you have to smash through with spending more money on
Yeah,
ads.
because they're a business at the end of the day.
They are, they are. And,
Yeah.
and you know, that was a real. I always wonder, and I've never really thought about it too much. Like, I wonder if they always plan to be the monopoly and mass marketing, essentially advertising agency that they are, or they just plan to be a social platform, or if there's a wider scope for it. Who knows? It's a big question without really only one man who created Mark Zuckerberg can answer properly. But yeah, it's they do, between Facebook, Google, and Amazon, they have a massive stronghold over it. But getting onto other platforms, do you use TikTok much?
I don't.
You don't? No.
Again, it's a time capacity thing. I would love to.
Yep.
However, my current circumstances, I stick to Instagram, Pinterest, my own blogging website, and repurpose to Pinterest, and do sort of Google My Business, just keep that updated. They're my, and LinkedIn. I still do dabble on LinkedIn. It's sort of my corporate thing that I can't let go of yet.
Keep it there in the background.
But yeah, no, haven't done the
TikTok. I think you got to try all of them and see what sticks and what works. You know, who's your target audience? What platforms are they typically using? Yeah. You know, I think from my When a Business Growth Coach, that would be something that I would want to pursue on TikTok, because I think TikTok is a go-to platform for learning now. It's a learning platform, I would suggest. However, it's
at
like
present,
funny stuff, beautiful people, and learning. It's like, that's maybe not in that order, but that's kind of what it's become. And you know, I've really only lightly dabbled in it. It's something we're going to work out and execute a strategy on. But you know, of course, there can be ads placed on that platform as well. Works slightly differently. There's a minimum spend. I think it's £1,500.
Really?
Around that number, depending on what currency you're working in. The minimum kind of ad spend for TikTok and entry level you have to spend per month, so it's quite different. But Pinterest. You do a bit with Pinterest.
Pinterest is
massive. It's very. I can imagine, just without even being in the industry, why that would work so well for wedding planning.
So many.
That Boho, it's very.
It's a visual It's a visual search engine.
It's like a flick book, isn't it? Almost.
It really is, and it is the go-to place for people to get inspired about what kind of wedding they want to create. It's super easy to save images and video. And so, that is definitely my go-to from a Boho bride guide point of view, and would 100% recommend for any other businesses within the wedding world. There's other massive benefits, as in there's direct links back to your website. So it's not that they have to go to your bio and all of that. It's literally click and they're on your website. And so, and shopping, it's a shopping channel as well. So if you're a product-based business, amazing potential there. It's very easy to link all your particularly if you use something like Shopify, to link into that, and Shopify, and Shopify and Google, actually, it likes traffic coming from different platforms. You know, because it can then link to them different platforms. Google's all about how much money you can make at the end of the day, and if the more traffic it's driving to your site that's come from their links or links in other platforms, they're like, thumbs up, we're going to show more of your stuff because you're making us more money. And that's something I think a lot of people overlook, but it's the reality of it. I want to switch to as well, because I think we spent a good bit of time there, and it's been a healthy bit of time, and I hope we've given some value to anyone watching. But about kind of the nitty gritty of having your own business and the marketing end of it. But what's been, I always like to talk about challenges on the show, because everyone has them, everyone goes through them. But like some of the big ones that you've had within. I mean, let's say even since December is probably a good place to start, since you stopped working for someone else and completely did your own thing. Like some of the, as I'm kind of asking you the question, what's the first kind of challenges that you've come up against that come to mind? There's a couple. Initially is managing my own expectations. I am naturally...
You've been too big or too small?
Too big.
Too big.
And actually then the disappointment that comes with that. I'm always a massive advocate for setting goals. Like, I think you have to have something to be striving for. But at the same time, I'm getting better at coming into the real world slightly about, actually, I might not have achieved that goal that I had in my mind, but actually I've achieved this, this, and this, and I've overcome these challenges. So I will reach that goal just in a slightly longer time frame. And looking back, they might not have been realistic. You know, your SMART goal, it wasn't necessarily
SMART goal.
your realistic.
If you don't know what SMART goal is, Google that. It's top shelf kind of stuff, that is.
Yeah, so that is a biggie, and it's a learning process, isn't it? You always got to have goals, but don't kick yourself so hard when it is when you don't achieve them. You won't always achieve what you have in mind,
and it's going to be hard.
Yeah,
like don't be under any illusion. It's going to be hard, and it should be hard. The things that are worth it in life, when you get to the end, when you get to like the pinnacle, the top of the mountain at the achievement, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It should be hard. Yeah, like the hardest things, you know, the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. It really is. And it's true what they say, like a goal without execution is just a fantasy. But saying that, and it is good to put a time frame on your goals, otherwise you can just keep traveling through life and they seem to get further away, and you become despondent with them and discouraged and demotivated by the fact that you're not moving any closer to them. But like you say, it's about not being so hard on yourself and knowing that it's a journey and that you should embrace that. And just because I said I was going to do it by January and it's mid-Feb and I still haven't done it, at least you had the capacity to think, this is what I want to do. Yeah, true. And I think giving yourself a little bit of self-love in that, and knowing that, look, at least I took the time to get quiet and put pen to paper and thought about what I really wanted and how I might do it. Yeah. That's a great thing. And
I think a lot of it is actually tech. Goes back to I simplify things in my mind.
I'm a big simplifier. I try to go past simplify them in the mind and simplify them in the physical realm. I like when something gets overly complicated and really convoluted, I'm like, what's just the most simple way to get this done? Not quickly, but effectively with minimal hassle and fuss.
But then, for example, my biggie has been to launch the new website. It takes time.
It does.
It's in beta test. There are going to be issues.
There is.
And just getting comfortable with that learning process. And actually, my I want everything to be perfect right away, and things aren't. And you just got to work through them.
Yeah. No, that's actually something I've been battling with a little bit lately, because I'm a Virgo, right? I'm a perfectionist. That's who I am, you know, at heart and base, and I really kind of am that. But being accepting of the fact that sometimes you just got to get things out there, and you've got to learn back from what your friends, family, audience, customers, feedback they give you. What could be better next time?
That's it.
Because sometimes if you just rest on the it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. Got to be perfect. It would actually. You can become stuck in that and then become fearful of the fact that, and it paralyzes you. You're like, I just haven't done anything about it because I'm actually fearful of it. Yeah. The false evidence appearing real is just like, it stopped me in my tracks and I haven't been able to move forward with it. So I think just getting it out sometimes is really important.
It really is.
Another thing is, I think, and going back to kind of what we were saying earlier, like about having the expectations and setting them and sometimes not meeting them and being disappointed. Yep. Did you find that like having the right people around you, whether they're in your working environment or not, and having their support, even if they think what you're doing is mental, which that's kind of a fair bit of the time. How did other people, because you want to surround yourself with people that help you on the way and don't get in the way.
Yeah,
and that can be a little bit difficult sometimes, because it means essentially cutting some people off, and although you love them and you like them, I think you can, this might sound like a bit of a wild thing to say, but you can, a better way to put it actually is, you've got friends that you can go walking with or exercise with, and you've got friends that you can talk business with, you've got friends that you can probably have a party with, but there's not very many friends, there's very only 2 or 3 I can think of that kind of, for me, that come across all of those categories. But you do want to surround yourself with people that help you on the way, don't get in the way.
100%. And that is something that I think, and it's not necessarily needed to be a friend. It needs, for me, I need to find my level of an accountability group. I've created that for my community. They have a community where they can grow, share challenges, help each other. As a coach, as a business owner, I now need to grow my own community.
Mastermind. Have you heard of that term, mastermind?
Yeah, I have.
I was just listening to something on the way down. Bob Proctor, I don't know if you've heard of Bob Proctor. He actually recently passed away. He was someone who I'd done some programs with, and not personally, but under people who teach his stuff.
Yeah.
And he's big on the mastermind. Should be a group of people no bigger than 8 that have the same kind of growth mindset as you, and they don't have to be in the same industry as you, but they're always willing to support you in any capacity. And it's usually within business, really.
Okay.
But it's a dependable group of people that you can call upon at any time to go, I'm going to ask, how would you deal with this situation? What's your opinion? And they typically meet in person, whether that might be virtually or. But it's a very, very powerful thing, because once a bunch of minds come together that are maybe working towards the same goal, if you're directly or indirectly in a different capacity, and they put all their energy and consciousness and intelligence indeed together, it's a really powerful thing. So
I totally agree. And I think if you are then surrounded by almost that next level of success, if we're going to put that into inverted commas, and it's from like a salary point of view, to take your business from one price point in profit and take it to that next level, you then need to almost be surrounded by business owners in that next price point kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's a next level of thinking. It's a next way of performing in your business.
Well, the average person earns about the average amount as their closest friends, right? That's kind of how that works. So you want to surround yourself with, and whatever that means to you, whatever that number is to you, it's all different for different people. But you want to, we improve by making just pretty normal's the wrong word, logical small steps towards the next level. But I don't believe you need to do that. Increasing by 10, 20%. What's to say you can't increase by 300, 400, 500%? It's just surrounding yourself with other people, having that belief within yourself, and other people that fortify that for you, to understand that you can do it. And
exactly,
we had a chat before we came online. Success leaves clues. So it's like, how do I, a lot of people are going to offer you advice, and a lot of the time that advice is going to be free, and it comes at the value that it's worth. It's free. That is not to say that you shouldn't listen to it, but really what you should listen to is the advice from people that have already done it, that are in your industry. Who can I look to who's already done what I want to do, and that is successful leaves clues, and it'll save me a lot of time, effort, and energy, and mistake. So
it just opens that possibility, doesn't it? And it comes down to your money mindset. It's what values do you have around money? Is £1 million business? Does that sound unrealistic to you? Where is your current realistic level? And actually, if you want to get to that next level, you need to see it, you need to feel it, you need to be part of those conversations to actually. £1 million business is nothing. I make £1 million in a month, kind of. It's where is your normal, I suppose.
Yeah, it's what your values are and where they align
and
to you.
Do you want £1 million business?
I think it's also like, do you want it? What do you want?
That comes with its own.
I think how many people actually as well. I was talking to, I had breakfast with my uncle and my auntie this morning, and was like, how many people actually sit down and get quiet and figure out what they want and write that down and look at it and read it a lot, and how many people are just tumbling through?
See where we go.
Happiness is the most important thing, right? However that looks to you. Some people tumble through and they're happy, but I think taking some time to sit down, write your goals down, where I want to go, where I'm heading, what am I trying to achieve, and then seeing it before you believe it. Most people go, I believe it when I see it. I actually think you need to see it in your mind. The imagination is everything. Thoughts become things, and everything that we look at surrounded by now, the technology we're using, everything that everyone's using to see or hear us now or later, started as a thought in someone's mind. And it's such a powerful thing.
It really is. So it's what community will make this possible for you, and what community do you need to surround yourself
with? And can you indeed find someone who's already done it? And get them get a little bit of mentoring, a little bit of coaching from them, a little bit. Could you even get them in your mastermind? If you can, away we go. Let's see if we've got any. We're low battery over there. I'll get it because I've got a longer arms.
Thank you.
There we go.
Back again.
I think we can help us at that. Don't think we've got any questions over here. I know you've got some things you might want to look at and include there. And then we will close out with one and my favourite question, which I hadn't actually developed when we last did the podcast last time, but it's one I ask every time now, and it's the kind of title.
So should we finish with that?
We'll close out with that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to do a little bit of a shout out. If you are a wedding supplier within the first 3 years of business and you're looking to develop your own content creation system, so Jake and I have been talking about creating a blog and then repurposing that on content. I've got a 3-hour workshop coming up on the 11th of March 2022. So head to weddingbusinessgrowthcoach.com if that sounds like something that you will benefit from. We are also still open for applications on the Boho Bride Guide. So if you are looking to focus your business down into the Boho weddings arena, and you're looking to get part of a community that will champion and cheerlead you on, then do get in touch. That is the bohobrideguide.com. And I'm going to be opening a few positions on my one-to-one coaching program set up for success on in April 2022. So again, that's Wedding Business Growth Coach. So if you are looking to get clear on how to set up your wedding business for success using my anchor methodology, there are a couple of spaces coming up available on there.
Fantastic. A true hustler always has many things going on. That's why I love having people like you on the show, and I've really enjoyed this episode.
It's been brilliant. Thank
really
you so
nice
much
to catch
for having me.
And actually see you in person, because I don't think we would have probably seen each other since we left school, which
Literally.
I'm not even going to tell you guys how long ago that was.
I'm not bringing
How old am I? It's at least 15 years ago.
16 or 17, I reckon, because you're
15, 16 years ago. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's good.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because I've seen you online, it doesn't feel that long.
It doesn't. And when you're aligned with someone, you know, that kind of energy, that connection's there. So no, it's good. But before we close out, just a big thank you to all you guys watching, listening, whether you're watching now, live or later. Appreciate you. A show is nothing without its audience. But Jen, I have to ask you, what when times get tough? What when the kids are screaming and you're trying to do business at the same time whilst cook dinner drives your quite evident hunger for the hustle?
Probably from a personal point of view, very much I want to create a life where flexibility and being present as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as a family member, and to be sort of that in word at the minute, financially free to travel the world, experience the world, and be present, enjoy those family times. So that's where I'm aiming. But then from a very much a giving back point of view, I want to enable small business owners to create that for themselves through my coaching program, my training, and through the community that I pulled together.
Love it. It's fantastic. I think it's important to give back in any kind of way, and whenever you get an opportunity to, you should.
Yeah.
Because
you get so much more back.
You do. It recharges your batteries.
It really does.
Recharges.
And that's why corporate work weren't happening for me.
It's like gratitude karma, right? I find that like when good things happen, particularly when you've worked hard for them and you take a little bit of time to be grateful for them, but you pay that gratitude back to other people, the universe, God, Buddha, whatever you choose to believe in, through helping other people, it's only going to benefit you and help you grow. And that's like, yeah, look, there's a little bit of selfishness in that, but that's deducted by the fact that you're helping other people. Yeah. So it's like kind of balances it out.
It's true. It's true. Because you need to fill your bucket up to be able to give. So it needs both.
Yeah, it does need both. No, I think that's a beautiful thing to end on.
Lovely.
We'll wrap it up there. Thanks, everyone. Yes. Thank you all. And I'll sign out with my usual lyrics of stay happy, stay healthy, stay hungry, and keep on hustling. Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. Take care.
See ya.